The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Today my guest is Blake Sebring. Hello.
Hi, Patty.
I had a little trouble saying that last name, but it's a good name. It's a good name. So, you are from Fort Wayne, Indiana?
Yeah, I went to Harding.
Harding?
When I grew up and, lived on the southeast side.
Did you go to college?
I went to Valparaiso.
What was your major?
It was journalism. I was one of the last journalism graduates.
So, you majored in it.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. You graduated and everything?
Yep.
Good.
Whole bit, yep. Ended
Go.
up paying off the bills, too. Somehow.
What was your first job?
Well, it depends when you start. I started at the News-Sentinel when I was 15.
News-sentinel.
And I worked there through high school and through college. And then I went to Sturgis, Michigan for 18 months. And the boss kept lying to me, so I left the job and came home and worked part-time at the News-Sentinel again for 6 months, and then they hired me full-time.
Doing what?
Sports.
You're a sports editor?
No. I never wanted to be sports editor.
So what's your title?
Just me. Senior writer or whatever, I guess. I mean, if you want to make something up, yeah. When Bud Gallmeyer retired in 1990, Kerry Hubbard and Joe Shibley convinced me reluctantly to follow Bud on the Comets for the paper. And I thought, who would want to follow Bud? That'd be crazy. It's an impossible situation. And it took me a long time to feel comfortable, even though Bud was helping me until he died in, I think it was 1991. He helped me. I must have talked to him twice a day, probably. I'm sure his wife got sick of hearing me all the time on the phone.
Did you ever take sports when you were a kid?
Yeah, I wasn't any good. I didn't have the genetics for that. My dad was 5'8", my mom is 5 foot. So I knew I wasn't going to be an athlete. My brother got all the athletic genes in the family, and he was quite the athlete.
So how long did you,
Have I covered the Comets?
Yeah.
27 years.
27, they've been around that long.
They've been around for 65.
65, I know. We did a special with Uncle Ducky's show, and I did a poem about the Comets.
Okay.
So.
I think you read it to me.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was fun.
So, each game, the Comets game, is it about 2.5 hours?
Yeah, give or take, yes.
Yeah. So what else do you do with the News-Sentinel besides?
I cover tennis and volleyball and gymnastics. I'm doing some stuff with Derby Girls, Bearfield, all kinds of stuff.
And you like it?
I do. I really enjoy what I do.
It's not really a job, really, per se. It's more like something fun.
Every job is a job, but I really, really enjoy my work.
And you like being paid. So I understand that you are an author. Look at all these books. So what is it that you have written?
Well, I can show you what I started with.
The first one?
Yeah, I started with Tales of the Comets.
Oh.
Which happened when, I think it was 98. I want to say 98, when Joe Shibley passed away.
Oh.
I knew I always wanted to write a book about the Comets. And then when Joe passed away, it's like, okay, shut up or do it. you know, so I had to do it.
How long did it take you to write that?
About a year and a half. And what I did was I took a lot of stories and I wrote them 4 or 5 paragraphs each.
Oh yeah.
And then that's how I taught myself to write a book, essentially. Because, you know, if you sit down and say, I'm going to write 300 pages, you'll never do it. Because it's just overwhelming to think I got to write 300 pages.
Orange, white, and black, of course.
But if you do one story at a time, it's not as daunting.
So what's the most interesting story in this book?
Everybody talks about the time that Andy Bizou got traded to Kalamazoo for 2 dryers.
For 2 dryers?
For 2 dryers, yes. I mean, there's all kinds of stories like that. I try to find the funny and the interesting
Ripley's
story.
Believe It or Don't.
Yeah, yeah. And eventually the trade got disallowed, but the Comets kept the dryers. So they made that on that deal pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
So.
And the next one? What
The
was
next
that?
one was, I had so much fun doing that one that I did, the next one was Legends of the Comets, which is, and I can show you again how I started that. I wrote 10-page biographies of the guys, of all the players who had their numbers retired at the time.
Oh.
So that was a blast because...
Who's the last one?
Well, recently, Al Sims and Terry McDougal and Colin Chalk this year got their numbers retired, but they're not in this.
When was that done again?
I think this one was done in, they all kind of run together. This one was, it says here 2009, but that's not correct. I want to say probably around 2005 would be my guesstimate.
Took you a long time to get all these?
No, not at all. Actually, it took me a summer. That was my summer project for that year. And what was so neat was that every one of the guys who'd had their numbers retired still lived in Fort Wayne, except for Terry Pembroke, who lived in Texas. And Terry used to come back to Fort Wayne 3-4 times a year anyway.
Oh, really?
So the greatest thing about this was getting to spend all that time with those guys.
Who's the most famous?
Oh.
Okay, sorry.
Well, let me give you the list.
Your
of the
favorite.
Let me give you the list of
Anybody.
the people. How's that? Eddie Long.
Eddie Long, oh yeah.
And Len Thornton and Reggie Primo
Oh my goodness.
and Colin Lister and Ken Elliott,
etc., etc.
Robbie Irons, Reggie Primo, Lionel Repka, Robbie Laird,
You think most of these people
Colin
are
Chin,
still,
Steve Fletcher.
are they still around? Some
Yeah,
of
most of them, yeah. Reggie Primo and Lionel Repka have passed away, and so have Colin Lister and Ken Elliott. But
What's the average?
and Bob Chase, obviously.
Oh, Bob Chase.
Yeah.
What's
So-
the average age they?
Oh, I would guess these guys were in their mid-60s when I sat down with them to do this. You know, Fort Wayne's been incredibly blessed. It's unbelievable that so many of those guys are still with us, and we are just so blessed by that. And they still go to the games, and they still enjoy the games, and it's so much fun talking to them because they see the game in a completely different way than most fans.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're
living it.
Exactly, they really are. I mean, it's painful for them sometimes, you know, that kind of thing.
How about the one that's Bob Chase?
Yeah, that's the next one, in fact. That was the next one I did. This was live from Radio Ringside.
Oh yeah.
And this was the book. As soon as Bob saw these 2 books, he asked me to help him write his. Because he had, you know, talked about doing it for years and had just never found the time or the focus or whatever to do it. So we did this, and this took a year and a half.
So that's like a memoirs or something.
Kind of, yeah. It's Bob talking to me about his life. And
Like we're doing right now.
kind of, yeah. Except I'm recording it and then going and transcribing it. And
We're recording it.
yeah. Okay, you're good. Yeah, you're good point. And so this one took longer than most because it was hard to get Bob to focus and narrow in. Oh, this one was I want to say, yeah, this one is in 2009 as well. So this was, I believe,
8 years.
Yeah, but I believe this was for his 55th anniversary with the Comets at the time.
How old was he when he passed?
Bob was 90.
90?
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
I forgot when.
the last Thanksgiving.
Last Thanksgiving. I didn't think it was this year.
Yeah.
Oh, we miss him.
Oh, I look over my shoulder every game to see if he's okay up there. You know, I mean, because he's always been over my left shoulder. You know, and I still catch myself reaching for the phone to say, "Oh man, I wonder if Bob saw this happen." You know, I mean that kind of thing. Because we used to talk, at least once a day. I mean, and
It's good to have friends.
yeah, and yeah, I'm still. It's like my dad passed away 2 years ago, and I'm still reaching for the phone for him too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it just.
My dad passed 10 years away.
Yeah, it just takes. It gets better, right? I mean.
Each year it gets less hurting, and you still remember all the love that he had given you and all the good things.
Yeah, you know, that's what I try to live by. If Dad would have been okay with it, I ain't worried about anybody else.
Ain't
you know,
a big thing.
and you know, and I think a lot about what would Bob think of something, or what would other mentors I've had think of something, and if they would be okay with it, okay, that's fine. I don't care what anybody else thinks. You know, I mean, and that's good enough. You know.
And you have other books.
Yep, the next one after that was
You're going.
Lloyd Ball's book.
Who?
Or Lloyd Ball was the Olympic gold medalist for volleyball.
Oh.
And the story behind this one was we were going to publish it right before the 2008 Olympics. And the publisher I had at the time couldn't do what he said he could. And he ended up pushing it back, and we decided, all right, we'll just do it ourselves. Yeah. And so we ended up publishing, yes, after the Olympics. And I was really disappointed because I thought the marketing would be during the Olympics and we would do well with it. And then, so I was disappointed. And then, so we watched the Olympics, and they were in Seoul, Korea.
Oh, yeah.
And they won gold medal at 3:30 in the morning, and I screamed because I was so excited for him. And I think I woke up half the neighborhood because the windows were all open. You know?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I was just so happy for him, because I knew what it meant for him and his family, and how much he'd sacrificed and everything else. He's still the only 4-time American male to play in 4 Olympics. It's just amazing.
You know, with these, do you go away from Fort Wayne to do these stories?
We'll get to that. How's that?
I like this.
But the interesting thing about Lloyd's book is everybody thinks it's going to be heavy on volleyball, and it's like 90% is not about volleyball. It's about the adventures he's had in international countries and the different foods he's tried. One of my favorite chapters is what he does to counter jet lag, because he's filled up like 5 passports, you know. And how does he handle that when he's flying across the world all the time? One of them is, what does each tattoo he have mean? And each one of them has a specific meaning. His favorite thing is, he says, well, my wife likes them, and she likes to see me in pain. So
I like that.
And there's a chapter about faith in here, as there's a chapter about faith in Bob's book. So after that one, I started. I had another shut up or don't do it, or didn't do it, or just shut up about it moment, and that was The Lake Effect, which was my first novel. It's a coming of age novel. It was my swing at a great American novel, and it's about. I had the idea for 20 some years. I had it in college, in fact, and I couldn't figure out how to write it until someone gave me an idea, and it's like, where were you at 20 years ago? But the idea is, sometime between the ages of 22 and 32, every person has a moment in their life where after that moment they are an adult. They may not realize it at the time, and only they can define it for themselves. For some people, it might be getting married, it might be moving away from home, it might be a divorce, it might be having a child, my dad, it was boot camp. For my mother, it was when she broke off an engagement with somebody. For myself, it was when I left the job in Sturgis, even though I didn't have anything to back it up, to go to right away. It's when you look back now, you realize that was a defining moment in your life. And the interesting thing to me is, every time I bring this up to somebody, they know exactly what their moment was, but they never thought about it that way before. So my thought it would make a great novel, because if everybody has that moment, it's something everyone can relate to. And how come our parents never warned us about that moment? They didn't think about that.
It's a personal experience.
Exactly.
Really.
But everybody has that moment. Do you know what yours was by chance?
When I became producer.
Okay.
And when I got married to this laddie over here.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, good save.
Hi.
But anyway, so that was the fun moment about this novel, and everybody that reads it goes, oh yeah, okay, fine, that makes sense now, and so this is one of the books I'm most proud of, just because
it took you a lifetime to write.
It did, and once I got that one done, it gave me a lot more confidence.
It's good.
I mean, everything in my writing is about pushing myself and trying new things. And Steve Warden once told me that you don't get better unless you try stuff that scares you.
If you don't take a risk, not worth living.
Right. And
True.
And this one scared me, because when you create a world out of your own head and then you just give it to people and you don't know what they're going to think or how they're going to think about it, that's a scary, scary moment. I mean, it's like, please like it, please like it, please like it. You know, I mean, and
I like that with my first show.
Yeah, exactly. One of my best friends was reading the book at night, and there's a part in there that made him laugh so hard he woke up his wife, and she started reading it with him, and that was like, okay, that's when I knew it was going to be okay. You know?
Good. It's good to have a nice critic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a lot of those out there.
A decent one.
Yeah.
One that doesn't rip you apart.
So then I was writing Fort Wayne sports history when I got the idea. I'll come back to that one.
Okay.
When I got the idea for Homecoming Game. And I couldn't get it out of my head. And the way it works for me, if I can't get an idea out of my head, I have to get it down on paper before I can move on. And this one I wrote, I would say, this took a year. And it's about high school and college football. But it's more about people.
Yeah.
When I write sports, I try to write about the people as much as the score, because sports are about people. They're not about just the games, because nobody's going to remember the score in 2 weeks. Right. They might remember the story behind the story, though, forever. Yeah. And so that's what this is about. It's about these two kids that try to that go to play college football. So, and
Which college?
It's Indiana Western, which doesn't exist.
Almost one of those.
And which is essentially
college.
Right. It's essentially Purdue, and then Indiana is Lilly College, and Ohio State is Ohio Valley. You know, it's a great Midwest instead of the Big Ten.
Right.
So
it's elaborating.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was a lot of fun. So, all right, and then I did Fort Wayne sports history.
Wow, that looks big.
It is. It's 450 pages.
How long did it take you to get that done?
Shockingly, only 6 months.
Well, you had all the material.
Well, kind of. I knew I wanted to write a Fort Wayne sports history book. And to do that effectively, I kept thinking I have to write 1,500, 2,000 pages. And I knew that I'd have to charge $50 for it and nobody would buy it. So instead, I wrote, I woke up one day with the idea of writing a calendar, January 1st through December 31st.
Sorry.
That's all right. And so each day gets one page. So there's 365 pages. Yeah. And then I put a lot of interesting things in the back, like Major League Baseball teams that played in Fort Wayne and what the score was. NHL teams that played in Fort Wayne, that kind of thing. All the state champions, all the city tournament champions for golf and swimming and tennis and things like that.
Did we have anyone in the Olympics?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's 17 Olympians from Fort Wayne.
Hey.
Yeah. So 3 gold medal winners. I mean, all kinds of stuff about them in there, too.
Them there, you know.
And just things like that. It was... So the reason I wanted to do this book is because we've lost so much with all the people who've passed away. Len Davis, now Bob, all our legends of broadcasters and journalists. And I was afraid we were going to lose a lot of the history. Carl Bennett, Bud Goldmeyer, Jim Costin. And so I wanted to get it all in one place, so it's in one place at least for people if they want to look at it later. Okay.
Is that new?
No, this is a couple years old. I think it was 2015.
Yeah, couple.
2013 actually. It goes fast, yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's got a lot about the Pistons in there. It's got a lot about Olympics, the Daisies, of course.
The Daisies, we know Isabel Alvarez.
Yeah, Alvarez, yes.
Alvarez.
Yeah, Isabel's a sweetheart.
Ah, she's so sweet.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that in there, and people can look it up and just go with that. So it's all in one
pictures
place.
in there, or just
No, I really don't, because it's 450 pages, and I had to really keep it down, right?
Yeah.
So it's only $20 though,
Oh,
compared to
that's
what
not bad.
compared to what it could be.
Do you get a lot of people buying them? Is it in
It's hard
stores?
to no, it's only online, I'm afraid.
You don't put it in libraries or?
The libraries have picked it up here. The downtown library has copies.
Wait,
So.
right across from the park.
So, okay. And then the last one, or at least the most current one, is Lethal Ghost. It's a mystery. I always I like to try to write different things, like I said, to test myself and to try to learn about writing and such.
It's good. You can never stop getting it. It's like taking one chip and you can never stop taking it.
Exactly.
You're
It's
always-
like reading. You want to read great books all the time, so it's my hobby essentially.
So how long did it take you to get
This one was a year.
A year.
I had the beginning and I had the ending and I had nothing in the middle. And I really, really knew the beginning and I really knew the ending, which were pretty good.
It's just a plot in between.
It was, everything in between. So what I did with this is I wrote the bad guy in first person and the good guy in third person, and I alternated chapters all the way to the end.
Right. So it's like I write lyrics. I got songs out. I don't sing, but other people sing it for me. And I have a hook, which is Lethal Ghost, right there. And I have the beginning and end, and I have to work in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be like that long, all the way down the story, then I have to go.
Well, what was funny about this is I kept coming up with ideas for one character or the other, and so I needed some new ways to murder people, and my mother kept coming up with really good ways to murder people.
Oh my!
Yeah.
What a family.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Is your mom still around?
Yeah.
How old is she?
My mom is 73.
73? Guess how old I am.
72?
No, I'm 65 this Saturday.
Oh, good for you.
What
What are you going to do to celebrate?
Well, party. Anyway, 65, I don't look it, do I?
No.
I don't act it either.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything on that.
Oh,
you know.
thank you.
So, well, that's the book so far. And now I'm working on one about the National Hockey Leagues and Fort Wayne's ties to the NHL.
And when did you begin that?
Oh, as soon as I finish Lethal Ghost.
So you want to take a break before?
No, I like I said, when I get ideas in my head, I got to get them down, or they're not gonna, they're not gonna go away, So, and so I'm working on I have a sequel to this one in mind. So it'll be a 3-book series by the time we're done.
You're not the first author I have interviewed. I have interviewed about 3 or 4. I've always been interested in sports, even though I could not do it because I'm fragile. whatever. But I am into science and music. Are you going to be doing anything with musicians, or that's out of your league, so to
No,
speak?
I don't know. I mean, Patty, when I wake up in the morning, if either God's given me an idea or not.
True.
You know, and so it's kind of, I kind of wait for what the next idea is.
So you like to be challenged.
But I've got 4 or 5 books in mind right now.
Oh boy.
And right now they currently don't include any musicians, but I mean they sure could, you know.
That's cool.
I mean, if you think about it, music and sports are very similar, very
Well,
creative. and
Creative. You can. It's like therapy. Actually.
unique personalities.
Right.
you know.
Boy, do you meet characters, don't you?
You got to have confidence. you know.
Yes. And it's like therapy when you do exercising or sports or writing or singing. I think it's great.
There's always a rhythm to things.
It is a rhythm to life, and that's great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. Did I miss one?
No,
So you are going to sign a book for me.
sure,
So
I can do that.
which one would you like to give to me?
Lethal Ghost.
Eh.
Might give me ideas.
I was thinking more of sports.
Well,
Okay, thanks. That's your latest. And what are you saying? Writing on there. Pate. That's a good start. Thank you for coming over. And such a marvelous cold, wet day. So, thank you. Well, he's signing it for me. This is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. And this is Blake Sebring. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Thanks for the opportunity.
Coming on to my show, and you got warm paws now. Thank you. I'll see you next week.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us